As we've just seen, drugs make your problems go away. So make it the best day possible. Remember, it's drugs that counts. Take one and take a chance.
Saturday morning cartoons.
Please welcome Max Headshrew, Aria Blackness, and your most gracious host, Ben motherfucking Jackson. Applause, 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 applause.
Intro. I love that intro.
Awesome intro.
Well, they all look exactly like us, don't they?
Exactly. I wonder though, I think it would look better if Max's face was on the He-Man. Am I crazy?
Yeah, mine doesn't fit. The thing
Doesn't
is
fit?
about the face apps, right? You have a certain structure to your face, don't you? So when face app wraps your head, like your face, around essentially another person's skull, it can totally distort your face to the point of unrecognizability, which is why Aria is always unrecognizable in all of them. But for some reason, mate, Ben, your face fits on every single square-jawed action hero ever. I fitted perfectly.
Episode or something.
I fitted perfectly on Skeletor's head because my hairless head is basically a skull. but on man, it just looked like my face. You know when people draw massive heads and a tiny little face in the middle? That's what it looked like.
Well, all I can say to that is I have a perfectly symmetrical face and head.
You do look a bit like Prince Adam, to be fair. You got a Prince Adam look to you, ain't you?
Yeah, it's just symmetry and beauty. That's all.
That's it. Dal, I'm adding you for the next one, mate.
All right, so we are gonna stick me up.
I think Dell would. I don't know how his facial structure and head whateverness.
Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it would be cool to have Dell's face on the Xerxes body. Remember that one?
Yeah. Okay, we'll swap it over then.
Because he's the Persian guy.
Oh my god!
I was looking for Gwildor from the movie, that little
Gwildor.
Tried to fit someone's face because his face is about that big, isn't it?
If they had just had Orko instead of that guy for the movie, that might have been the best version.
Yeah,
it was really confusing to me when I realized none of the classic heroes or villains are in the movie. It's all new guys, right?
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Trapjaw was in the movie.
Was he?
Was he? I haven't seen Trapjaw though.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he was.
No, he won't.
Yeah, he was.
You're lying to me, Ben.
I'm not lying. I'll show you a clip of him in a second.
Okay. It was because they had a minuscule budget for the film.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they would have done Orko in the 80s myself.
I'll say this, right? You talk about, small budgets and all that. You know how they do the Hulk CGI and all that now? They really just should, in my opinion, just get some muscly bloke to play him in the movies. Yes,
I agree. Well, I remember I went to see the... hang on, before we get... Incidentally, in this show, we're going to be analysing the different versions of He-Man because the new ones come out. And we're going to put them all in order of rank, our personal rank, and then we're going to argue over it. So for our homework for this show was to try and get familiar as much as we could with the different versions of He-Man. We've all made different levels of progress on that because there's just so much out there, especially the original series. There's wasn't it something like 75 episodes per series?
There was tons of source material to go through. There's no way we all could have watched handfuls of episodes of every different version of the show, but we all did get a really good familiarity with all of them. Oh, there's some people in the chat Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Here's homework.
Well,
Well,
why don't we do the? I see Isaac's in the chat. I see Dabbers in the chat. Why don't we do this? We'll go through them all, give our thoughts on each version, and then
It's all right, Dabster.
and then Dabster and Isaac and anyone else can call in if you want.
Drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, I will do. All right, but before we take callers, let's go through them. So obviously, there's the 1983 edition, right? That one's
Yeah.
That one's pretty. We're all pretty familiar with that one. That's the original. That's the one where all the memes come from with all the weirdness. So real quick, my thoughts on that. Oh well, here's the intro to that one.
what have you got there, Max?
I've got the art and history of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Here, but
Mate!
Oh my god. Damn. Does it go into like the legal battle with Mattel and
goes
freaking
into
Conan the Barbarian? Like
every sort of version of He-Man, the comic, the toys, the designs for the toys, like absolutely everything. It's a beautiful book, man.
oh, that's the original Beastman right there. That is
Yeah.
story.
There's some great stuff in there. There's some really
Wow.
good stuff in here.
And Aria, you've got a book too.
Yeah,
It's
so
the same one.
no, it's not. It's different.
Oh, is it a different one?
Yeah. So my one is like the action figure Bible. So there is literally
What?
what's the
Fuck you, Aria.
It's literally got every figure from the 80s all the way through to the modern day. Everything apart from the new Origins line because they're the current line that's out right now. So it's got everything alphabetically in here. So like the very first thing
So
is totally weird. Do you guys remember the what do they call them? The meteorbs? These things? Like these are official Masters figures.
yeah,
No.
yeah, they're like they're spheres. They're
Yeah.
animals that
They're
turn into
animals.
spheres.
I have no memory of them at all.
Yeah, they were like one of the last things that got added to the line
Right.
back in the original run. And they were just another franchise that Mattel got the license for, and they thought, what do we do with this? Oh, we'll just slap Masters of the Universe on it and sell it.
Right.
Yeah, I had a couple of those animal balls. I was not a big fan of them.
Like He-Man's
Animal
out there,
balls.
there's whole different themes in it, but that one is out there.
Yeah, those animals weren't cool. Like they're just animals that you can pull the legs out and put the head out of the sphere.
That was kind of the mantra for the beginning of the franchise anyway, wasn't it? They had the toys to begin with, and then they tried to fit a narrative and a sort of an animation around that. And then the more they sort of became one, they tried to do it offshoots of the series after that to keep the franchise alive. You know, some of them had more success than others.
Yeah.
But I was the perfect age for He-Man. Like it came out, you know, when I was a little kid. I was born right at the beginning of the 80s, so He-Man was like probably the first sort of fancy franchise like that I got into and I was mad about. I think the first crossover that I ever witnessed was He-Man and She-Ra, and it absolutely blew my mind.
Well, aren't they sisters? Like I never understood that.
Yeah, they were
crossover.
sisters.
Yeah.
Like she was a spin-off of He-Man.
Yeah.
And then they cross over like they're not living in the same castle. Like,
Yeah, they live in two separate dimensions.
oh, that's right. That's ridiculous.
Even though they're pretty much identical. But they weaved them in quite well.
Let's watch the intro for the first one here.
Yeah, sure.
oh yeah.
Brilliant intro.
Share.
Got that audio, Ben.
I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend.
Battle Cat.
Powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power
The
of
voice.
Grayskull."
All the lost and that's cool.
Cringer became became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share.
That's the idea.
I just love the animation style. We need more. We need that back, you know.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the animation style as well.
There's subtle things about it that I think are really. Am I muted? No, I'm not.
No, Max, he was speaking then, but he's
there are subtleties to that show as well that I think are really valuable. You know, the voice acting is like over the top, but like showing He-Man for what he really is, which is like this basically a demigod of perfect virtue and protection. Like the ultimate
was for kids as well, right? So you gotta
he was a barbarian equivalent to Superman.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. He was a barbarian equivalent to Superman. That's a good way to put it. But like he was basically masculinity incarnate. You know, he was stronger than everybody, but he was also like gentle and trustworthy, and he would help you. He would help you out, and he would keep you safe, and that's what men are supposed to do.
There's a documentary of the making of it, and they talk about when they come up with the name, and they were even back then. He was like, we can't call it He-Man. It sounds too masculine. Like everybody will call it sexist, but obviously it was marketed to little boys, wasn't it? So it was an absolute smash hit, you know. And then it's those same little boys. Mainly, I'm sure there's a bunch of little girls that are into it too, just not as many. It was mainly those little boys that have followed the franchise up to where it is now, you know, and that's probably why you've got some of the backlash that you've got for the one that's recently come out. But yeah, the rotoscope animation style on the original is great. If you've ever seen like Ralph Bakshi's Fire and Ice, it's the same.
Yes.
It's the same style.
Yeah. It's that's a great style. I love the way those shows look. So the original He-Man for me, pros, the animation style, the character design, the sound, the voice acting, the way they have those little morals at the end with the theme music playing at the same time. Those are ace. I think it's an awesome show. If there's anything wrong with it, I think a lot of the episodic writing is just phoned in. Like they have there's tons and tons of episodes of this show, and not a lot of them have a story that's really interesting or worth paying attention to. And I think a lot of the times the action figures and the TV show don't really line up. I think Fisto is a good example of this. They made this action figure with a giant metal fist, and then the episode I watched, the episode about Fisto, and it's nothing to do with his giant fist. At no point does he punch anybody with the giant fist. So yeah, so I think there's some discrepancy there between the writing and the creation of the toys. So not it's not as if every episode of this show was necessary to watch. You know, you watch a couple of highlights here and there, and you get the idea.
Oh, for sure.
So you don't have to watch the whole thing. Like other shows that I would absolutely recommend every episode. All right, that's my 2 cents. Max, what are your thoughts? 1983 He-Man.
I think one of the things I like about it, I mean, it's difficult for me to put my finger on what I enjoyed about it as a kid, because it's a lot shallower and a lot simpler. It was just a big guy kicking the shit out of bad guys, basically, and it was the first sort of foray into that fantasy universe for children, I think, which sort of made it ahead of its time. I think another thing that I like, which some people might put down as a negative, is the fact that because it was of its time, it took elements from several different franchises and merged them quite successfully. And two sorts of styles of fantasy that you probably think can't go together. And one's like the Star Wars side of it, and the other one is the Conan, Lord of the Rings genres. And they blend them quite well, like the technology and the sword and sorcery goes well. You don't really see, it was sort of an 80s trope that you don't really see that much in anything nowadays, especially movies. There's no sort of crossover. Something's either like cyberpunk sort of film, or it's like 100% fantasy. You don't get like these high concept things, and I really enjoy the scope of that, what you can do with it potentially.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, and I'm just gonna add to that. Like, that's what's so cool about He-Man is like the appearance. He's just got a bunch of muscles, and he uses a sword, and he has long hair, kind of. So like that's true, because that's a lot more interesting visually than Luke Skywalker. Even though I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Luke. But yeah, good point. Good point there, Max. Good observation.
Cheers.
Aria, what you think about the 1983 version?
So the first time it was the first Motu content I saw, but when I originally watched it, it was on a Spanish VHS tape, right? So I didn't know what they were saying, basically, as a little kid, right? Like that's just how I watched all my TV shows back then. I didn't know what I was watching. It was just flashy visuals, right? But then by the time I watched the English version, I was a lot older, like, past the age demographic for it. So to me, the original 80s TV show just feels a bit too childish for my taste.
Yeah, I mean, it was made for.
I know that was
out of all the. Excuse me. Out of all the series, I think that was aimed at the youngest for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely. You watch it back now without the nostalgia, then I'm not sure what it would feel. Pretty ridiculous,
Like my favorite way of like exploring Masters of the Universe is like the deep lore.
Yeah.
Going into the like battles and all that you get in books, like these, and in the comic books, and in some of the later shows. So it just
what do you mean? What do you mean by deep lore? Like
in the comic books, they'll go into the characters' origins, and the battles will have consequence. It won't just be like, oh, Evil Lyn turned He-Man into a golden statue, but by the end of the episode,
he's back to normal. Yeah, that's a very fair criticism of the 1983 cartoon. That the stories are inconsequential.
Yeah.
I definitely give it to you, Aria.
I mean, that wasn't a critique of it. It's just, it's not my He-Man. I was the
right. I feel you.
For it.
I feel you. I mean, there's a case to be made that it's the best version for everything that's good about it, but there's some serious deficiencies that we can't ignore. So
yeah, it was the inception of the franchise, wasn't it?
Right.
If you look at all of them as a whole, it was an inception of an idea, and then they created it with what sort of limited tools that they had at the time. It's a product of its time, isn't it?
Yeah. Sure.
Del, I haven't heard from you in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Aria. It had a lot of inconsequential episodes, but I would say this, that when I was a kid, I remember I was a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then when you had like Conan the Barbarian and all that stuff, there's these types of movies that I wasn't allowed to watch yet as a kid, and I was really into like Hercules and just like demigods and all those concepts, but there wasn't really anything available for like kids my age on the tele that kind of entertain those areas of interest that I had. But He-Man would come on, and my mom was like all about it. She was like, "Oh, this is a great cartoon." So I started watching He-Man, and a part of me felt the how much of like not juvenile, but I would say how much it catered towards like children, but it was still entertaining. Like Aria says, the deep lore behind it, like the concepts and everything. Even as a kid, I could look at this and be like, man, this has potential to be something a lot more interesting when I get older. So I'm gonna hang on to it now, and then I'm pretty sure they'll revamp it at some time. Like I kind of had gotten that concept because it was I could tell it was older than me, and that it was still popular because everybody in school would talk about it. So I was like, they're probably going to come up with a newer version of this, which they did, and which it become my favorite after that. But I watched I definitely had watched the 1983 animated versions over the New Adventures, but the New Adventures had become my thing.
I got you.
I would say this as well as a plus for the original series compared to all the others. And this is something none of the others well, maybe the movie has, but none of the other series have. It's got the comedy value of the original series now is excellent. Like when I was searching for stuff online, there's so many funny, like out of context clips from the show.
Oh yeah,
especially some of the characters.
I also want to add one more thing too. That Aria mentioned also about like the comic book series. Like that's what I liked about the New Adventures is the New Adventures kind of had this like mini comic book series that came out with it. I mean, that would come out with toys. The books would come with toys, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I felt like when honestly, I think it's interesting that we always bring up the toy factor because I'm pretty sure the toy became before. The toy became before the books, right? Yeah. So as far as I know, like as we were mentioning Star Wars, Mattel turned down the Star Wars action figures, and while all these companies were trying to figure out a toy company, the new toy to come with the action figures was something that a lot of toy companies were just kind of afraid to step into. And then when Mattel saw that the Star Wars toys were doing so well, they had to compete, and what they did was they went full send with the with He-Man, and that they caught a lot of flack for it too because at the time they created the He-Man action figure, the Conan movie had come out, and they actually sued the Conan the owners. I don't know exactly like who owned it or who was in control of the intellectual properties at the time, but they actually sued Mattel for it, saying that they had because they had claimed that they had taken the liking of Conan the Barbarian, and the creator of the toy of the He-Man toy actually said, "Well, I actually had created it way before, and I had like 3 concepts of it. It was a soldier, the He-Man barbarian look, and a space ranger type He-Man, and the barbarian look kind of just stuck." And that's what we all know He-Man to be.
Yes, so you can see the Star Wars and the Conan roots right there, can't you? It's almost on every level. It's an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah, not until I became really a big defender of the New Adventures of He-Man did I find that out a while back that because somebody came at me and was like, it's just a knockoff of a Conan the Barbarian. I was like, who cares?
Yeah. It wasn't a knockoff though.
No, it wasn't. They won. Mattel won that battle. Yeah, according to the law, He-Man predates Conan.
Huh. What are you going to say, Aria?
I was saying that's a good transition to New Adventures.
Yeah. Is that what came next?
Well, we should talk about the movie actually next. That was 1987. So the movie came out in 1987. I watched the movie. I expected to just kind of breeze through it to like get the points to talk about. But I was so entranced with the movie. I think the movie was actually really well done. Like it's campy. It's definitely a product of its time, but that's not a bad thing. Like it's hugely entertaining. I think if I had been a kid instead of just barely born, I would have really loved that movie at the time. I got no complaints about that movie, honestly. Courtney Cox is to die for. Seriously. And I forget the name of the actor. I've never seen him in anything else, but whoever they got to play He-Man, nice job. Like that actor just really exudes masculinity and strength and compassion. And like, you really feel like he's just going to make sure nothing bad happens. And he's going to take care of all of the big, scary stuff, which is what men are meant to do, honestly. And I think nowadays there's 2 things that happen in movies that I'm not a big fan of, if I'm honest. Which is just if there's somebody big and strong, they just put Vin Diesel to play him. And if they can't get Vin Diesel because he's expensive, then they just have like a professional wrestler play it. And I'm not into that. I'm not a fan of The Rock. I'm not a fan of Dave Bautista. I'm not a fan of John Cena. I'm not a fan of wrestling. Sorry, not sorry. But like the guy that played He-Man, he wasn't a wrestler. He was an actor. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is an actor. You know, you can say he's not.
It's Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, he was
Dolph Lundgren. That's right.
He was the enemy of Rocky and Draco.
That's right.
Ivan Draco. Yeah, and he was on a Bond movie too, wasn't he? I could have sworn he was on one of the Bond movies. Maybe not.
No, I think Grace Jones was, and he was with Grace Jones for a good while. They were together. He's like a genius as well. He's got like a PhD in
and he's a
physics.
Fighter. He's Kyokushin so don't mess with this guy.
Yeah,
all right. I gotta go on a Dolph Lundgren trip and watch all his movies. That was just really cool. So I'm a big
Universal Soldier. He's brilliant.
Yes.
Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's right. The origins of me wanting to be a commando.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's when my interest peaked in wanting to join the military was
amazing.
Was seeing him in Universal Soldier. I was like, one day steroids will be legal and I will be able to be a Universal Soldier. So everybody in the MLB and all these pro leagues are doing it already. Why can't the military hop on? I'm just I gotta stop talking about that.
So because of He-Man, Dell became a soldier, and I'm privy to information that I'm not going to share on a stream, but I happen to know that the planet Earth, would not exist if it hadn't been for Dell and his team and certain things that they've done and certain missions that I can't get into detail. So thank you, Dell, for saving the world, and thank you, Dolph Lundgren, for inspiring Dell to save the world.
Well, if you think about it, it was Dolph Lundgren that really saved the world. Because without Dolph, there would be no Dell.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, that's just one example of single-handedly saving the world inspired by Dolph Lundgren that we know about because we're friends with Dell. That's probably happened many times.
Probably.
Hey guys. Thank He-Man for his service.
So, Mr. Lundgren, thank you for your service. The movie's great. The movie,
it's awesome.
Courtney Cox is 10 out of 10 sex appeal in that movie.
How
Dolph
good is
Lundgren,
Skeletor, man?
too. Skeletor's great. I can't find a picture, but there's a guy in the movie with a metal jaw. I'm pretty sure that's Trap Jaw.
Oh, really?
But even if it isn't, it was obviously like a ripoff of Trap Jaw. So they're ripping themselves off. I don't know. Okay, so the one thing wrong with that movie, because I'm being fair, I'm assessing all of these things, pros and cons. The one thing wrong with that movie was the wizard character, Glyphosate, Glyffledavil.
Oh, the little dude. I just said his name, didn't I?
Gwildor is his name. I'm not a fan of Gwildor, by the way. And actually, there's already a small, diminutive little wizard character. He's called Orko. You sons of bitches. If Orko had been in this movie, it would have been the best version of He-Man. Enough said.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that one.
It was weird the way they chopped and changed with some of the characters, because the Beastman was in it, wasn't he?
Beastman was in it, yeah.
Yeah, but the other three, one of them just looks like Peter Stringfellow. What's his name? Khan, the leader of Skeletor's bad guys. He's got a hook for a hand. He's got like a backcoat mullet. He was useless.
Yeah. Here. Okay. Now I understand. I'm gonna share my screen again. The character was cast as Blade, which the one I thought was Trapjaw. You'll see what I mean.
The one with the swords.
Yeah, the one with the swords, and you see how he has that metal jaw.
Yeah,
so I thought it was. It's obviously inspired by Trapjaw. They've got Karg and Sauron, and there was Beastman in the movie as well.
Do you know that you had?
The big one there is Beastman, and then I thought this asshole called Blade. I thought that was Trapjaw. He's obviously a rip-off of Trapjaw. So whatever. So yeah, that could have been a little bit cooler too.
I agree with you. On the good points. I think some of the bad points is you can. Aria touched on this earlier, like the battle at the end. When I was looking things up for it, because they had a minuscule budget and the budget was running out rapidly towards the end, I think they had like a day to shoot that fighting scene. And halfway through it, the production company came in and just shut the whole thing down, so they couldn't film anymore. So they had to sort of piece together the shots that they had, and then take Dolph Lundgren and Frank. There's someone on an aeroplane.
What happened?
Just sounded like someone was hoovering up their living room. Yeah, they had to get Dolph and Frank, who played Skeletor, and get them to just do. If you watch the fight scene, there's just loads of shots of them head to sort of waist, and they're just doing this with their swords. So it's sort of like they have to just shoot them with some fancy lighting behind, with like a red light behind them, and then just try and edit that into the fight scene, which is why the scenes, it doesn't really live up to the rest of the film. The rest of the film's like, it moves really fast and there's a lot of shit going on, and then it gets to this fight. They sort of tap swords and then Skeletor dives off a dive.
Yeah, I thought that was a style. I thought it was intentional, but now that you're telling me this,
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Because it pops out. It does stick out.
Yeah, it's almost always because of money. And
well, I didn't
Masters of the Universe was the first film to do an after credits teaser for a second film. So if you wait till the end of the credits, Skeletor pops his head out the water
and he's
says,
still alive.
Yeah,
I'll be back. Was there a sequel movie? Was there a follow-up?
They wrote the script and they made all the costumes, but the movie became Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And if you watch that, all of the shit that they're wearing, the bad guy's wearing what Skeletor would wear, and he looks like he's dressed as Skeletor. He's all in purple.
Unbelievable.
I believe they already had started toys and everything for this for the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The film what was the production company that did it? That was the last film they did because it was such a bomb. It put the production company out of business forever.
Yeah.
They couldn't even afford to put distribute it. They got the toy company to foot up the bill to put it in cinemas after they made it.
Wow.
I'm really sorry to hear that it was not a successful movie. I thought it was great. I
don't think it was advertised very well at the time.
Masters of the Universe seems like a risky property for any company to get a hold of, because at this point it's such a unique audience you need for a theme like this. That's why there's literally since the 80s 5 versions of this, one of them being the movie. And in my childhood there's been 2 versions, one of them's only been released. Compare that to like Power Rangers, where there's a new series every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like companies are hesitant to take a risk on it because obviously it doesn't always pay off.
I think now, because and I understand it, when you're running a business, it's difficult to base all your output on pure creativity of a director or something, or writer that you hire, without sticking your fingers in. And it pisses me off as a sort of a film goer, that films are always consistently messed with by the production company and they end up a mess. But from a business point of view, I can sort of understand that pull to do that. And I think He-Man keeps suffering from the same thing since after the first series, the production company just messing around with each version of it. Probably bar one, which was the not the New Adventures, the 2000 reboot.
Well, do you think it'd be a little bit more difficult now that if He-Man came out with a newer live action film for the toy part? You know what I mean? Where would it be rated at this point? You know what I mean? I could see.
Bro, it would be He-Man would be played by Vin Diesel or some bullshit, and I would hate it.
It'd be PG-13.
Yeah, it'd be PG-13.
And there'd be toys there more. I don't even want to get into what they do to the toys, but I mean, go ahead, Aria.
Sorry, I'd have no problem with the Masters movie being PG-13 so long as it was just entertaining, Like
I'm starting to the PG-13 films now. They don't know how to entertain them anymore. They can only either go extreme or they can go very kid.
I don't think Masters should be as dark as the Conan movies.
No,
Yeah.
but
I'd agree. I'd agree.
One of the things that you have to take in consideration with long-standing IPs, and Star Wars is a good example of this, is that the longer the IP exists, the narrower and more sort of specified the audience becomes, because there have been people that have stayed with the franchise from the beginning, right? So when you're making a new He-Man series, it's probably more important to cater it to guys that are in their 30s and 40s that were watching, or 20s, Aria, that were watching the original series back when, right? Because unless you're playing it on a kids' TV show and doing a full reboot to get a new audience, they're the people that you're catering for. So I think you can, as a franchise ages with its audience, I think you can make it darker. And I think when you look at the original series compared to perhaps the 2000 series, they did do that successfully.
Yes. And I understand where Aria is coming from too. I'm not saying it has to be like super dark and everything, but the thing is, more risk can be taken because, like Max says, the audience is older, so they're not going to be cutting off a big chunk of the audience that would have gone seen the movie. Right now, kids that aren't fans of like retro cartoons or retro toys aren't going to go watch it, so that audience is already lost. So why not cater to the people that have, like you said, that are in their 30s now?
Here's why. You can make a TV show that caters to like long-standing OG fans, but you can't really make a movie that does that. At least no one ever does. And the reason they don't is because to be a box office success, you have to have really universal basic appeal, which is this horrible, unfortunate reality that means that big movies have to suck scientifically. And the reason why is because they need to appeal. Like, there's a certain percentage of movies goers that are going just to see the specific movie that they want to see, but that's a minority. But the majority of revenue is regular moviegoers that are gonna go to the movies anyway. Sure. And since while they're at the movies, they make up their mind, well, which of these movies is going to be the one that we want to see. And those people don't know anything about the original versions. They don't know anything about the characters. They just want to watch a movie. And so that's why you get these kind of cookie cutter scripts for movies that kind of dumb them down. I don't know. I'm usually the guy that says that I would prefer to see an R-rated version of whatever, and I would prefer darker. I'd prefer more mature. I'm the guy that always says like the real fans are in their 30s and 40s of any intellectual property. He-Man's an exception to that rule. He-Man's an interesting case because part of the charm of He-Man is that he's harmless. Like, that's the beauty of He-Man, is that he's the most powerful and the strongest person in the universe, but he's also gentle and innocent and simple. He just wants to make sure all his friends are okay and the bad guys don't win. So to make like an R-rated He-Man movie, I don't think would make sense. I don't think it'd be the right tone.
No, I agree. I don't think full-on R-rated is the way to go. But there are levels of making things darker, aren't there?
I think the sweet point lies between, there's somewhere between hitting Battle Cat with a shrink ray and severing your enemy's heads, and in the middle,
hitting Battle Cat with a shrink ray and actually fisting someone.
Well, that's what I meant for the R-rated part. Is like, I think we do need to see the. I don't know. I just, me playing with my He-Man action figures would like to see like some of the toy body parts fly around and stuff. Now,
I feel
in the big screen.
I feel you.
I'll get it. And there are some examples of very good films that have been pushed through despite not being for everybody. And most of them fail, no matter how, even if they're great. Dread is a really good example of it. It was for a minute audience. They had a very small budget, but they managed to make a deal with the distribution that made the film a lot cheaper. And they had a very simple idea that they could set in this big sprawling world.
And that's a great movie.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie. But it made all its money like in DVD sales and sales afterwards. Right. I think it still is. But at the time...
And the producers are just interested in box office.
Yeah,
numbers,
it's not a success in the first 2 weeks. It's a failure, which is
and this is the reason. This is the reason why Todd McFarlane has never made a second Spawn movie, because he has a very clear idea of how he would want the movie made, and he's pitched it, and he can never get the money from the producers with the pitch that he has. But anyways, that's another topic. Okay, anything else about the movie? I think we should move on. We gotta get going. Yeah. It's been 40 minutes and we've only talked about 2 things. All right, I'm gonna share my screen and we'll show the intro to the 1990s New Adventures of He-Man.
Hell yeah!
Dal's the fan. Dal's the only fan.
We defend Castle.
My name is Adam of Grayskull. When good is threatened by the power of Eternia, I was summoned to the future by the last of mankind to defend them in their hour of need. But my old enemy, Skeletor, followed me. Now, here in the future, he has found new allies to help him in his never-ending fight against all that is good. Yet on Primus, I too have found new brave friends and a new family. Thus, with the power of the good and the way of the magic, we struggle against the forces of darkness. Good against evil. The battle continues.
The power of the magic.
All right, so straight up, I'm not big on this version, actually. I'll tell you why. This is usually an animation style that I love, this 90s animation style. It looks like the G.I. Joe cartoon. It looks like Mask. It looks like Centurions, if you guys know Centurions. So I really like the style. I like that they're trying to make it more serious. I'm into that. I dig it. I get it. But He-Man looks like shit, man. His hair doesn't look cool. His sword's retarded. He talks like a fag and his shit's all retarded. So, like, I'm sorry. Like, I get what they're trying to do. I appreciate the 90s aesthetic, but I'm not a fan of this show.
He looks like he's come off his creatine, doesn't he? I want a big He-Man, man. I want a big, chunky, giant bear of a man. That's supposed to be He-Man. He picks up like half of mountains and stuff. This motherfucker's not doing that. His new sword is shit. It's like a big giant handle that you get
and what he's
a big sword like a spike on it.
And sorry, where is He-Man in this show?
He's in Eternia, but not Eternia in the future. And Skeletor him.
Doing what?
Coming.
So he's just in the future? No, that's dumb. I'm not into it. Del, make the case. Change my mind. Why am I wrong about this?
I'm not going to change anybody's mind because, like you said, change my mind. I can't change anybody's mind in here because, what I meant to say about the New Adventures is the reason why I grew up on that is because of my age. You know what I mean? It was what was on the television at the time.
Yeah.
I grew an appreciation to like the original 1980s version more because when I got older, I wanted to watch them again for nostalgia. Not until you're adult do you realize that what people have done to your intellectual properties. For example, I thought Jar Jar Binks was the coolest, not the coolest, but one of my favorite characters watching the prequels. Why? Because I was 9 years old when I watched the movie. I didn't get the seriousness. I only got the cool lightsaber throwings, and then when he came on, I was laughing. So when I was watching He-Man, The New Adventures, you know, I was just like, it was the 90s, so I was like 8, 9, you know. So, actually, I was a little bit younger. So when I'm watching it and everything, I'm not understanding what they're doing to the intellectual property. I don't realize how much creatine he's been off of since the last time I saw him. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, cool, they're still making more of these. That's awesome. And then when you get older, you realize, man, I wasted tons of my time in front of the couch watching this version of He-Man, which was not that great. In my head, it was awesome. And it was kind of awesome because, like I said, they had the comic books come out with the toys, and it was cool. But like, there's no like my older cousins weren't there to tell me how much they trashed the original He-Man.
Right.
Yeah, okay, cool. He's got a different sword. It's not as cool as the first one, but it'll probably be cool the next time. Know what I mean? In your head, it's like Power Rangers, man. Like just like Max was saying, it was like there'd be they'd pan out Power Ranger Space Force. I'm like, I really like the dinosaurs. Whatever, it'll change next season.
But
know what I
thing
mean?
is, like, they could have made a He-Man in space thing with the planet Red Skull. I'm into that. They could have done a better job, but the changes to He-Man really. You got to wonder these people that make these changes.
Don'ts, half-wits, bunglers.
I'm just saying if you were 30, I'm 32. So if you're 32, when you were watching these new adventures, you probably didn't have much of an opinion. You probably kind of just went with it and thought it was cool, just like every kid that's watching.
I never watched it at the time, and trying to get into it now, it didn't work. Aria, any thoughts on the new adventures of?
Yeah. So this show begins an introduction of anime to the Masters franchise, right? Every show past this point is heavily influenced by anime, and I really like the style of anime, but this is not He-Man. You don't, like Max said, you don't want to see slim He-Man. You want to see he's basically Hulk with a sword. That's what you want to see.
Yeah,
and like it's cool and all, but it strikes me more like G.I. Joe or Power Rangers. Like he's got a freaking lightsaber, right? It's not the sword of power. It's not the same thing. Cool, whatever. Just it's not He-Man.
The reason why all the designs and animation style was changed is because when they sold or they rented out the rights to someone else to animate it this time round, right?
Yeah.
So when they did the pilot, they deliberately made it enough off design that if when they sent the pilot in, it wasn't accepted, they can carry on animating it and just say it was a different series. And that's why it's so different.
Yeah. I think it's not the like introduction of like the anime style is really good in my opinion, right? Because all the best shows I grew up with are like Western anime, like Avatar, Ben 10, New Adventures, obviously, right? I think it's a really cool dynamic way to do action scenes, do intros, it just makes things look better than the more static versions that you get.
Sure, yeah.
Also, to bring the toy aspect in there, they weren't doing so hot with the original He-Man action figures at the time, and they wanted to change it up because right at that time, I think there was like VR Trooper toys. There was all these other toys that were coming out that were like more spacey and a lot more slimmer. So they started trying to create He-Man into that molded type where everybody was pretty much sticking the same body on the same head. Yeah. And so because the original He-Man action figures were a little bit larger, so they started making these smaller toys, and they wanted to do the whole interchange, which was cool because it was a cool development for the toy industry, especially action figures. I believe you guys talked about this in an earlier podcast. But that was another thing is they try to revamp the show with the toys. Like I said, at this time, the mini comic book series had toys that came with it.
For sure.
Ben, you're
Sorry about that. Let's move on then to the 2002 version of He-Man. Share audio.
I'm Prince of Eternia, defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous.
Gets right into it.
By the power of Grayskull!
That's cool, John. You can say Mama's He-Man.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, that one's my favorite, actually.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. It's got the best character designs, and it has the best stories episodically. Like you can watch any episode of that show and it'll be a good time. Like some of the original shows are really throwaway episodes, honestly. But this one, every episode is worth your time. I think they take the story more seriously. I think they take the characters more seriously. I honestly think that the 2002 version of He-Man takes the best from the original and the best from the 90s version and combines them. It takes the seriousness and the good story and the good episodic writing from the 90s version, and it takes like the proper respect for the He-Man characters from the original version. It's just the best version.
Big facts. I was kind of... Go ahead, Aria, my bad.
No, you go first.
Yeah, so when this came out, I was around like 13, and I like watched a few of them, but at that time I had gotten so into Dragon Ball Z that I just didn't want to watch anything else. And then, but now for when He-Man started becoming a more hot topic of discussion recently, because of what's going on in comics, and also for homework for this, I started going back and watching some of those episodes, and I really hate myself for not being able to watch this as a kid, because this is definitely this is my new favorite. I would say because I didn't watch it when it was out for it to be my favorite growing up. So this is the version I wish I would have seen.
I mean, and it's still good in retrospect. Isn't it?
As an adult, I'm enjoying it. I'm watching them right now and binging them. I'm like, these are awesome, man. This is the He-Man that like everybody wanted.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
wow,
I mean, it was my He-Man. Like it was my generation's TV show. I think it is perfect on almost every level. Really cool stories, really cool action scenes, especially with that. Now that they've sort of grounded that anime style of animation, right?
Yeah.
Really cool, really dynamic. There's only two problems I have with this era of He-Man, and neither of them really concern the show. The first problem is the action figures. I know He-Man's always been about the gimmicks and all that, but the action figures started to play into the more like He-Man would come with a giant blaster and it would have, a giant bullet that's the size of his head kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
The action figures, the show was so visually cool, but then some of the action figures would come with these big, goofy kid gimmicks, right? I know that sounds strange for Masters of the Universe, but
no, I get the action figures went Simon Bisley, everything was oversized, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like one of them I had was a Snake armor He-Man. He was really it was Skeletor, right? Skeletor. He had his staff, but on the top was this big purple bullet, and that's not what it looks like in the show. And you press the button on his staff, and the top of the staff would shoot off. It just looked goofy to me. Anyway, that was one problem. Also, this show marks the point where you see this trend where Moss Man is no longer just a green beast man, and
he's the forest.
Yeah. And then Stratos isn't Beastman's body but grey. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they move away from the clone aspect of the
all the body types were different, weren't they? So they went to town on all the different designs.
Yeah, which then you see in the next iteration.
Which you think is a bad thing?
I think that's a bad thing because that's part of the charm for me, that He-Man has the same stock body as any of the other masters. Like he's just as big as Skeletor, but all the bad guys have the Skeletor arms and all that. I like that, and then you see it, in the.
I like things to be the same
to an even further extent.
No, I get you. I enjoyed as I suppose as a kid that had all those toys in the 80s. Which was repeated a lot with a lot of different franchises. So all the Ghostbusters have the same body.
Yeah.
All the He-Man had the same body. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have the same body. They're just different colours. So when I saw the new toys come out and they were all different, I liked that. I was like, they've put more individual sort of effort into each little one, and they were more way more detailed as well. I enjoyed that side of it. But I can get both ways.
That's definitely plus. The thing for me is they look so much more cohesive, being all the same size, all the same muscle. It looks like a franchise, you know, as opposed to like since the designs are so different. Like He-Man's a barbarian, Mechaneck is like this sci-fi spaceman kind of dude, right? Like if you put Mechaneck in a Marvel action figure line that's the same height, he would fit in. You know, if they all had the same bodies, they look more like one unit to me. Is all.
I see what you mean. We'll talk about that more in a second. As soon as we talk about the action figures, I want to show off a bunch of action figures that I'm really into. But before we do that, we should talk about this new version called Revelation. I didn't watch this one. I read a little bit about it, and from what I read, it seems like I'm not going to be into it. It's like not focused on He-Man. It's focused on She-Ra, but then the show is called He-Man. It seems like a
you don't even. If you're a He-Man fan, I'm just saying you might be upset.
It's in the beginning. Switch.
I watched it.
I watched all of it too.
Yeah,
I've seen.
There's only 5 episodes
on YouTube. The fight scenes look wicked in this show.
Look, if this wasn't called He-Man, right? So there's several different shades of shit with this series, right? And some of them, in my opinion, are valid, and others I don't think so. We're talking spoilers, right?
Yeah.
So the first episode, the first episode's fucking great, right? He-Man looks ace. When he changes, it looks ace. He has a brawl with Skeletor. That is fucking excellent. They're going to they've changed some of the lore. It opens up. What I really liked about it was when the first episode opens up. There's like a recap of the history of Eternia and He-Man, right? And the images that they show with this voiceover are the same sort of still art style that you used to get on the covers of the boxes for the figures. So they're like really detailed paintings. So I absolutely love that. Where it goes off road for me is when you remove He-Man and then you start following another character, right? Which, had it not been He-Man, I wouldn't have been asked. So it colours my sort of judgment of the series. I don't necessarily hate the character that you follow, although she does do one thing that's a bit wanky. But it's just that the show's about He-Man. It's a He-Man show. And I feel like Kevin Smith, from what I know about Kevin Smith, because I follow Kevin Smith a lot as well, he's trying to sort of crowbar in these strong female characters into these episodes, which would be fine if you didn't have a version of He-Man that was specifically for girls, called She-Ra, which does exist. So if you want to do that, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But there's a show specifically for that.
And it's called She-Ra.
Yeah, He-Man is for these grown-up boys.
Haven't you ever seen...
Go on.
Haven't you ever seen the meme of the guy like putting up these cardboard cutouts of monsters and then like huddling down and being afraid of them? Like, you're creating problems where they don't exist. You're like creating this supposed masculinity or whatever that doesn't allow girls and that doesn't appeal to girls. It's not the case. It doesn't exist. It's never existed. It's a fucking complete
correction.
It's a correction of something that's not a problem, by the way.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when the Boy Scouts were forced to include girls. There's something called Girl Scouts. Like,
well, I sat down and I watched all 5 over a period of about 2 days. But I watched the first 3 with my wife, and she doesn't really know much. Well, she didn't know much about He-Man, but the first episode blew her tits off, and she was like, "Why are people complaining about this? I don't get it." By episode 3, she was looking at her phone. She didn't give a shit because it had just completely reared off course. Yeah. Now, the last episode, it does sort of come back round again, and also in the series, the defense of the series, the full series is coming out in 2 blocks, right? So we've got 5 episodes now, and we're getting 5 episodes later. So maybe it's a redemption arc, but when Skeletor and He-Man are in it, it's great. When they're not in it,
they're in only the first episode.
They're in the first and the last episode.
Right.
Skeletor's good. Mark Hamill as Skeletor's good. He's channeling a bit of the Joker, but he's good.
Yeah, he sounded good for sure.
Oh, yeah. and there was another reference, a massive reference to Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back in it as well. Teela, because you're following Teela, she goes into this cave, and inside the cave, I don't know. There's a guy called Scareglow. Do you remember Scareglow?
Yeah.
He was one of my favourite toys, right? He basically looked like a glowing version of Skeletor. And he feeds off your fears, right? So he sends her, he goes, she's looking for something in this cave. And basically, he says, I'll give you the thing that you're looking for if you let me feed on your fear, right? So he sends her into this cave to live out her fears. And it's the same scene from Empire when Luke goes into the cave and meets Darth Vader and has a fight with him, right? And chops Vader's head off, and the mask explodes, and Luke's beneath the mask. So she goes into the cave, and her worst fear is that there's an evil He-Man that's going to kick her ass. They both draw their swords, and her sword, it's exactly like a lightsaber, and she even flicks it out like a lightsaber, and it extends.
Yeah.
Like this is because you can Kevin Smith's like a massive Star Wars nerd. You can see what he's taking it from. So I actually appreciated some of those things. It's just the way the whole thing has been executed. For me, it just didn't see. It's just not appropriate for a show that's based around He-Man.
So it's a girl He-Man.
I don't know what they're fucking doing with it, man.
They're trying to do like a pass the baton thing, and they're like there's like undertones in there that are almost kind of like I'm gonna say it, like they make you like roll your eyes. And Max is trying to be nice about it, but really it's so subtle because they know it's an issue that people aren't taking a liking to the way they're doing it. There's a good way to do it, and it'd be passing the baton, like you said, for any OG character to pass it on to the next character that people feel should carry the franchise. You have to give respects to the original character. So they made the attempt to give respect to the original character He-Man, but they definitely did not deliver with that. And I think what Max, you have to watch it to understand the tones, just like the dialogues, the imagery. That's where you really get a sense of what they're like. You feel it in your bones, like, all right, I see what you're trying to do. You're making the whole movie. You're focusing the movie on making this work, and it's showing. Instead of like you really being like, man, this movie was about He-Man, but yeah, he has to pass it on, and you don't get that feeling. You get it like, man, they're really trying to make it to where you accept it being passed it on because they don't want to piss you off, because you know you're going to be pissed off. They're trying to do it in a way where you can be like, oh well, that was a great
that's a great
send off.
That's called inorganic.
Yeah, well, you can tell they tried to make it organic as possible, but it's almost like the whole purpose of this movie was to do that, and I don't think people like that.
Understanding that that's the direction it's going, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, the movie.
I am not nice. I am not kind.
Don't want any
also,
part of
just
that.
a good element of it was when Skeletor gets the Sword of Power and does the I have the power thing.
Yeah,
and then he becomes like this big super He-Man Skeletor.
Swole Skeletor.
Yeah, I was into that. But yeah,
that was cool. That was cool in the movie as well.
Yeah. So he turned all. He had like gold armor. I prefer the movie version of the transformation.
Yeah, me too.
He
had like his crown with spikes and stuff.
I don't like the character because like I haven't seen the show in its entirety, but from what I've gathered from watching like the various YouTube clips, the first episode takes place before He-Man and Skeletor die, correct? And then afterwards is in the future, so they all have different character designs, right? And
Teela goes away and then comes back as a lesbian for some reason.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the obvious. The obvious one is the shaven head, but then like Beastman as well in particular. There's that scene right at the start where they're battling outside of.
Teela's a lesbian?
No way, dude.
They were super necessary.
They don't say it, right? But it's a bit, it's kind of gay baiting, really. She's in a relationship with her partner, this black girl, and when there's a few scenes when they run away and they're holding hands, but they don't actually say it. Like, oh, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Just go fucking balls to this.
Exactly. Yeah, Max, like you're saying, the undertones.
Chris,
hello.
Mr. Hurst. Yeah,
so, we can hear you, Chris.
And she's put on about 4 stone of muscle, and she's fucking shaved her head.
Yeah. It's definitely queer baiting, right? And that's for all the people who are going to ship them together on bloody Tumblr and Reddit and all that. That's for that demographic, for sure.
Chris, you're muted, my friend.
Oh, sorry that you wouldn't hear me. My background, 3 kids running.
Oh, that's all right.
I know you watched it, mate. What did you think? Sorry?
New series?
Yeah.
Fine. New going in. No, seriously, I kind of knew. Any you've got I socks ball and the I
you guys
into that. It's the greatest
balls.
Chris, man, you've got some audio problems. I'm afraid you're cutting in and out with your audio.
You're like turning into Tron base. I was going to jump in.
Yeah, I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back.
Sucks balls.
Yeah. I thought he was being censored or something because he was just cutting off. I was like, this is new.
Pops, why don't you click the link and come backstage, and then you can tell us what you think.
Yeah, come on in, Pops.
Come on in, Pops. All right.
He-Man and the Bastards of the Universe.
Pops is touching on another element of the show that's been controversial, is how Kevin Smith basically trashed people like Clownfish TV who called this out in advance, and then what do you know? The show comes out and turns out everything people like Clownfish said was 100% correct.
Can I ask a question then? Because I'm not necessarily on his. Well, I'm not on his side for this because I think he acted like a bit of a prick. If you had made let's say you had made a show,
yeah, and
then someone had spilled the beans months before it came out, and you were banking on people not knowing stuff, how would you have dealt with it?
Well, that depends, right? Say if I feel like Kevin has written this show in bad faith, right? It's clearly not. He didn't want to write the He-Man show. He wanted to write the Teela show. Okay. Mm. If he had written a movie in good faith and it was all about He-Man, at that point he could have just been like, "Yeah, okay, it's leaked, but I think this is a really cool script."
Yeah, but remove the element of the personal taste of Kevin Smith and what he was going to write. Just let's say he made one that was for the fans and he wasn't lying. But someone called out the story.
Max,
how do you deal with that?
That's a totally different scenario, because the reason why exposing it was the right thing to do. It's kind of like that whole Snowden thing. It's like, oh well, how would you feel if your secret emails were exposed? Well, he's exposing corruption. It's not like we just
No, I'm narrowing it down further than that. I'm not. I'm just on about how do you deal with something. How do you deal with that issue online if someone leaks something that you've created before it comes out?
I don't think it's a valid question in the context, because the bigger issue here, Max, is that Kevin Smith created a show, ostensibly a He-Man show, but it turned out to not actually be a He-Man show, and so that's kind of wasting the time of the viewers who would elect not to watch the show in that case.
When J.J. Abrams released Star Trek Into Darkness and Cumberbatch was playing Khan, nobody knew that he was playing Khan, right? And then when he was asked online, is Cumberbatch Khan in the trailer? He went, no, he's not Khan, and Khan's not in it. Of course, we know now. Once the film came out, it turned out that he was Khan, but he got shit on for telling that lie. What the question I'm asking is, do you admit it? What do you do? Or do you go, no, that's not true? And is it okay to bullshit about an IP that you've worked on if you don't want your audience to know? Because you do get shit on if you tell lies. But I thought that was a given. You don't
honest man would tell the truth and then just rely on the quality of the story he's written to carry it. It feels to me like in that scenario you would only lie if you didn't have faith in your show.
Yeah. I don't know, man. If there's twists in the series that you're not going to want people to know until they watch it, it's going to piss you off.
Yeah, no, because the thing is like these are in bad faith twists, you know, and the point is that he knows that if people are fans of the original show, they're not going to appreciate the twists. So I'm glad I didn't waste my time watching the show, because I would have felt like my time had been wasted if I watched all these episodes only to discover.
I'm not sure that Kevin Smith wrote it with the express idea to like disappoint the fans. I think he genuinely thought people were going to be happy about it.
Do you think that's maybe a consequence of him being like one of the Hollywood elite now, and that's just the world he's in?
I think it's a consequence of Kevin. If you follow Kevin Smith's career, I think it's a consequence of Kevin Smith having a very deliberate sort of cult following, and him not necessarily getting shat on for a lot of his work. Like I used to really like his stuff when I was younger. The latest films he's done have been fucking. I couldn't even get through Giant Silent Bob reboot. It's so bad. It wasn't like just a bad movie. It's like he's regressed in filmmaking. It was awful, and I can only put that down to bad judgment. So I think he's got terrible judgment with that sort of thing, and I think he thought people were going to be. I mean, we can only speculate about what Kevin Smith meant or meant not to do, but I'm not altogether sure whether he did it deliberately. There's this thing where he did it deliberately to piss the fans. I don't know if he did. Why would you want this sort of backlash? Like even Netflix has like pulled it down off the front page now.
Because maybe he would get a pat on the back from the Hollywood elites and the people who are going to give him money for his other projects.
Quite possibly.
What's been the big backlash on the show?
It's got terrible reviews.
The fact that it's a show about He-Man, but it's not about He-Man.
But it's not called He-Man.
What's it called?
I was actually kind of okay with that because they actually called the show Masters of the Universe Revelation. So the fact that He-Man kind of, I mean, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it.
But
that's the whole point of the story is what would happen if He-Man and Skeletor went away. I mean, I'm kind of okay with that, but I think that's more of the fans expected a show about He-Man and didn't get one.
It's like Masters of the Universe, only pictures of He-Man. You know, it's not.
I have heard that argument, and it is semantics because Transformers isn't called the Optimus Prime show, but when Optimus Prime got fucked over, in the movie, every kid went fucking mental, and then by the series following it, they got rid of all the old Transformers and brought Prime back because
you can't just pretend that He-Man is just one of many characters who are all of equal importance. That's bullshit. And if that's the idea and that's the show you want to make, then be straight up about it. Be upfront about it. Like, I can explore the rest of this world and not just focus on He-Man. I'm not going to watch that show, is the point. And most people aren't going to watch that show. So they're basically tricking people by presenting them a show that they expect will be about He-Man and then not making it about He-Man. That's dishonest.
I mean, I can kind of see that point from like this was the reboot. This is the first kind of new Masters of the Universe content we've gotten in I don't know how many years.
Right.
So I could see that as maybe a bad
like
misstep.
18.
I don't know about. I think dishonest might be a bit harsh, but I could definitely.
I don't give any of these people the benefit of the doubt.
Better as the second series.
It's been going on for a long time. These same tactics, these same ploys all of this subverting your expectations. It's like, come on, man. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. This shit's on purpose, and I'm diametrically, culturally opposed to it. What'd you say, Chris?
Kevin Smith is a terrible storyteller. This is probably the most well-structured thing he's ever done.
That's what I'm trying to say.
He's not known for quality. His entire fame is from subverting genre and subverting expectation, and from making films that subvert plot and go full anti-plot.
Yeah, so, if you watch Chasing Amy, and then and that's all you'd seen of Kevin Smith, and then somebody went to you, this guy's going to write a new He-Man show, you'd expect what we got. So the only thing I'm disagreeing with
I
is,
wouldn't have expected it to be as good as it was. Like maybe
my
expectations were lower because it was Kevin Smith, and I wasn't expecting high art. If you go into anything from Kevin Smith expecting coherence and high art, you're gonna
I don't mean in terms of quality. I mean Kevin Smith likes to do drama, and he focuses on a lot of female drama as well. Like Chasing Amy is a perfect example of that, and relationships. I remember when he was in his heyday, and he do you remember when he got asked to do the Green Hornet? And he said, if I wrote the Green Hornet, it would just be the Green Hornet and Kato talking. Then they'd go off screen, have a fight, you wouldn't see it. Then they'd come back and talk again, because that's the sort of director I am. And that's basically He-Man. And he probably has more action in that because it's animated and he doesn't have to film it. But I think it was this execution. I'm not sure if if Kevin Smith did it intentionally, as far as what Chris is saying. He's just a shit writer. He's not that good.
And like I said, I think this is one of, quality wise and story structure wise, this is probably one of the, I mean, it definitely had its problems, but it was probably one of the more coherent things he's written. I thought it was okay. I thought it was just okay. It wasn't great. It's not horrible. It's just okay.
Has Ben passed away? I think you might have to log out or log back in. Yeah, there we go.
You pose an interesting.
Here's the thing, Aria. With everything that goes on online and on Twitter with CG and that, I'm very aware that because of the two main factors in the culture war, it's very, very easy to overanalyze things. Like, it's okay to just go, that's shit. But you can fall into a trap of going, that's done for this reason, 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 right? And it's important to recognize about yourself that that's what fourth wave feminists do. They find everything that's sexist, even when it's not sexist. And you can do the same on the opposite side and go, well, that's SJW, that's SJW, and that's SJW. The problem with that is when you look back at stuff that was happening before all this culture war shit, those sorts of elements were already in films. Not all of them, because some of them are genuine reasons to point out. But nobody was pointing at those things back then because this situation hadn't arose. So I think it's important to pull your head out of the war and look at it abstractly, which is why I watched the series and didn't refuse to, because I can't. I've never watched Ghostbusters 2016, and I'm never fucking gonna, right? Because I know it's not for me, right? It's just not.
I've watched 10 minutes of that film, and I can tell you now, not for me.
Pops,
hey Pops,
what's up?
How you doing, man? What are you thinking, mate? What are you thinking?
I'm a marketing guy, a promotions guy, and when you see He-Man all over everything, you fucking expect He-Man. That's what they're marketing. That's what they're marketing. They're not marketing Masters of the Universe. They got He-Man on the lunchbox. They got He-Man on everything. So to me, that's, misrepresenting the show. And then Kevin to go out and call Clownfish liars when they said, this is what's going on. And then we find out that's what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all misrepresentation, man. That's false advertising. It's just not right.
If he wanted to subvert what people were thinking about what Clownfish TV said, I don't know why he just didn't go, nice guess, but whoever's feeding the information that they got it wrong there, but keep trying. You could have been like cool about it. I think this is so weird.
I'd have been like, who's Clownfish? I'd have been like, who's Clownfish?
Yeah.
I would not have addressed it. Come on, man. He
I suppose you could have just ignored it.
And he called some legitimate people liars. Can't do that.
Hey, Kevin Smith.
I think you're fucking Antichrist.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with Pops.
I was a fan. Okay, I was a fan. Now, not so much.
I think Pops is very
right. His personal, the way he handled this.
I get that, but it's just I just think you gotta separate all that shit from the show itself. Like, I have to say, there's lots of things that I like, lots of different art and media that I enjoy that have been made by people that I don't like. But you have to give. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to give the accolades. So that if they produce something good, I've got to go with it.
No, but
not to say this was. I got to come at it from a different angle. My son was a He-Man fan.
Yeah.
Okay. I bought all that crap for my son. Battle Cat, all that. If I'm going to see some more He-Man, I want to see some more Battle Cat and all that. I didn't want. I mean, I'm Kevin Smith. I'm not a fan, but I still could have wrote a better fucking story.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a fan, was he? He said he was, but he wasn't.
Overnight he became a fan.
Maybe I like Kevin Smith. I like Kevin Smith. I just don't enjoy this pattern of using a character's notoriety and popularity in order to attack the same character. I think it's sneaky. I think it's beta male bullshit cuck nonsense. And it's the same thing that we saw these fuckers try to do to Luke Skywalker with the sequels. And I'm not about it.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you build a fan base, you get people that love that character for who that character is. Or whatever. I mean, we love the things that we love. And, I love Dogma. I will watch that every time I'm flipping through the TV guide. You see Dogma, I'm watching.
I like that movie a lot.
I love that movie, right?
Yeah.
But it could be her. It could be her. I don't know.
And mate, Kevin Smith is a good storyteller. Chris, you were saying that he's not. I've read like Kevin Smith's comic books, like the ones he wrote of Batman, the ones he wrote of Daredevil. They're good stories. Like the man understands. They're good. He gets he knows what he's doing. He's
had his moments, but he spent most of the last 25 years with his head sewn up his own ass.
Yeah,
he makes pretentious movies for the sake of pretension. And Dogma was a great movie. I've liked some of the Jay and Silent Bob stuff. I didn't really read a lot of his comics work, but I mean he makes pretentious 90s shoegazing independent films for their own sake. So, and it's just not my thing. That's fine. I
got to agree.
Kevin Smith.
I got to agree. Well, I probably sit somewhere in the middle then because there's areas of my life where I was a big fan, and then I don't know if it was a combination of if it was me getting older or if it was him changing or a bit of both. But Kevin Smith, like the thing that Kevin Smith likes to talk about the most is Kevin Smith.
Yes,
like he don't shut up about himself, and I agree. I think you can see that self-indulgence in a lot of his work. And I think because of that, I sort of fell out of love with it.
He's very heavy on anti-plot, and that's the sort of anti-plot structure has never really been my cup of tea. And so the stuff of his that I've liked are the things that have a more linear plot that he kind of pays off and follows through with. But I've watched Clerks a couple of times, and I think I've fallen asleep every time.
No.
Well, the thing is,
it's a collection of random shit happening, and it's
like that anti-plot thing has a time and a place. Like I enjoy Clerks actually. I think that works.
That's
right, exactly. That indie film sort of disjointed, not what you expect story. That
Hangout
works
movies.
in the right time, in the right place. That works for Clerks. I don't think that's a good idea for to reboot an old franchise like that. I just don't think it was the right move. It doesn't make sense.
That's not what he did with Master of the Universe.
All right, tell me, what did he do?
He actually had a structured, coherent plot in Master of the Universe. I mean, it had its.
But it was still anti story. Well, okay. Let's be clear about what we mean.
It had a story.
It was a linear story. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it still wasn't what we were expecting, and he knew that, and he relished that. And I don't get the joke, honestly, and I feel like the joke's on me, and I don't like it.
It is on you.
Well,
yeah, got egg on your face there. Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get making a He-Man show that's not about He-Man. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm not smart enough for that shit. All right.
The whole thing is he could have came out and said, he could have put it in the title. Tila takes over, whatever. You know, he could have done the marketing where He-Man wasn't front and center on every.
Yeah.
Right, front and center
I'm
on
curious.
every promo.
Go on.
Where is he in the show? You know,
Out of the 5 of us in here, who watched it? Who watched part of it and who watched the whole thing?
I watched the whole
I watched the whole thing.
I've not watched the whole thing. On YouTube, there are clips of pretty much every episode, so I feel like I've got the idea of the storyline from these 2 minutes.
Yeah, but you
like obviously, I'm not saying
I've got,
the understanding of the story. I'm just like
it took
if
me
you want
2
my
seconds.
judgment, I'll judge it based on the visuals.
Well, what's going to happen in part 2, man? It's not going to be.
No, it's. I know it's going
At
to.
the end of part 1, at the end of part 1, everything is kind of back. He-Man came back, and so now it's almost.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in part 2 because he to get ahead of the game. He's already said, hasn't he, on Twitter? It's going to be a story about Evil Lynn.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's following Evil Lynn's story.
With him, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So F He-Man, F Skeletor. We're gonna have Evil Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, He-Man dies, then they bring him back, and then he dies again in the last episode. Like what I was saying, if this wasn't called Masters of the Universe and He-Man, it would just be a fantasy cartoon that I probably think was all right because those elements aren't colouring what I'm watching, but because
Katie's got the right idea. Just an eye roll emoji. Yeah, that's the same way I feel about the last 3 minutes of this show, Katie. Yeah.
I will give you my take. If somebody presented to me a Godzilla movie in which Godzilla gets killed in the first 5 minutes, why the fuck would I watch it? No, I ain't watched it. Why would I? It ain't.
It ain't the thing.
It's not the thing.
It's not the thing.
You know, so I mean, same process, right? If you promote the shit out of a Godzilla movie, and Rodan fucks him up in the first 2 minutes, what are you watching?
Oh, my expectations. Ooh.
Destroyed.
You got me right in my expectations.
Yeah,
I mean,
I get
it's a Rodan movie. It's not a Godzilla movie.
Go on, Chris.
I get your point, Ben, about the subverting expectations, because it seems like ever since, I don't know if The Last Jedi started it or if it was part of the larger problem, but it seems to be that there's this subverting expectations as an art form in itself. But then if you want to get to the point of where you're subverting expectations, then we're now expecting you to subvert our expectations. Right. So the way to really subvert my expectations is to give me exactly what I'm expecting. Because I'm not expecting you to give me what I'm expecting anymore. It's this weird kind of
okay, but kill He-Man and Finn. That's the beginning. Jeez. I mean, you can give me a Godzilla movie where you kill Godzilla at the end. It was a Godzilla movie.
If we were, you know what we should have done? We should have not talked about He-Man during this entire show.
and just talk about everything else?
Subvert everybody's expectations. All right, well, we do need to do.
Guys, so join us next week when we talk about Power Rangers for sure. We'll definitely talk about Power Rangers.
Another thing I don't know anything about.
We need to do one on Dragon Ball Z because I've never watched an episode.
Del will be on the Dragon Ball Z one. He's the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan in the world. We could do Dragon Ball Z. We could do Power Rangers. There's lots of stuff to do. We want to have the show where we talk about Kickstarter versus Indiegogo, but we have to plan that ahead of time and know who's going to be on it.
For sure.
We've been going longer than this show usually goes, and we haven't talked about action figures yet. So I think we need to do that now. I shared the link to this website that has like all the He-Man toys. I'll share it again. I'll put it in the comments and I'll put it in the private chat. And then I don't know. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we just share our screen. Or just share screen and show the toys and talk about which ones we like. I'll start.
I do want to say one thing. Is being a parent during the original He-Man story and having a kid that liked He-Man, I promise you, if I'd have went and bought a He-Man DVD that didn't have He-Man in it, my son would not have been very happy.
That's true. You're right. You're right about that. So if we take a look at this, you can see this is the original figure of Jitsu, which is one of my favorite characters because I'm really into Jitsu.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's got a golden arm, a metal arm to chop, which is annoying because there's no chopping in jiu-jitsu. That's not a jiu-jitsu thing, but whatever. They didn't know that.
Hey, you're thinking small brain, Ben. You're thinking small outside the box.
But
I thought the sword was to chop. I'm lost.
He chops with the hand.
You
see that big gold hand pops? He chops with that one.
He chops with the hand and he wrestles with the sword.
And he But you can see from this original design.
Is it jitsu as in jujitsu or is it jitsu as in ninjutsu? Because I think.
Well, good point. I assumed it was jujitsu.
I don't think.
It might be Muslim jitsu. It might be Christian jitsu. You know, might be Buddhist jitsu. There's a lot of different kinds of jitsu. But this one really shows what Aria was talking about. Like these characters were all supposed to have the same body type, the action figures, and then like the redo of Jitsu looks like this, and like I don't know, it's just different. It looks really cool, but it's not like on brand. You know what I mean? And so in that order of ideas, there's ones I really like this one.
Manny Faces holiday. Did you guys know that?
What did you say?
Manny Faces has his own holiday. It's called Bring Manny Faces to Work Day.
What?
So the point being, you take your Manny Figures action figure to work with you. And I don't know how this became a thing, but it is a legitimate thing. He has his own holiday.
Oh, that's a thing where everyone takes their Manny Faces to work?
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't exploit this character enough in the original cartoon show. A character who can change his face to anything, that would have been cool.
He's on my list of 5 favorites. He is.
Oh, good. Mine as well. And so I also quite like Buzz Off.
Buzz Off.
I don't know. He's just a bee guy, but he's called Buzz Off. Oh, here's Jitsu again. There was one. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, and then obviously my other favorite of the original toys is Rokon.
No way!
Yeah, this is Rokon. He-Man character created by myself and Max. He's just a rock guy, and he's. I don't think he was in any of the cartoons. Actually, I looked.
Isn't he a rock lord? I thought he was a rock lord.
Yeah, he's a rock lord. And then my favorite original character, my original toy is this one, Mosquitour.
I don't remember that one.
I used to have this one. He's really cool. The character, he's got a big old mosquito snout there. I just think it looks the coolest.
Cool action feature.
I just think it's the best action figure. I really do. I think it's awesome. So my favorite one is, look at that. Look at how cool. How cool is that guy? How cool is that guy? Looking like something out of the Ninja Turtles, but with the He-Man muscles.
Yeah.
With the big old snout and stuff like that. I think this is the coolest looking figure, period. And then
it's funny you should say period with his action figure.
The samurai versions of He-Man are okay.
Shit,
Samurai, Skeletor, you know. And then the Orko, the 2002 reboot Orko, I think that's a really good figure. A lot of fun to play with, very cool to pose. Kind of looks like Rokon as well.
Yeah.
So those are my, but I gotta go with Mosquito for definitely my favorite toy. All right. Who else wants to talk about toys? Who's got a list?
I've got a list. Remember Faker?
Yeah.
Get Faker up.
Let's get Faker up.
I like Faker more than He-Man.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's the weird one, right? It's the weird
version. Yeah, that's something that like the good thing about Faker is he's just He-Man that's a different color.
Yeah.
And in the new episodes, they turn him into like a robot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't like the everyone's different now, you know.
Yeah, he looks like He-Man, and then his skin comes off, and he's like a robot underneath. I was like, I just want a blue He-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, is
exactly.
That me? Oh, my bad.
This one, right?
This is. I'm sharing the screen. That's me. Cool.
Wait, whose screen is being shared?
That's me.
Oh.
Who are you trying to share?
You're trying to click on somebody else's screen. That's what I want.
No, I wasn't trying to share. I knew it was you.
Do you want to let Max carry on, or should I do my bit and then we?
No, we should talk about Faker.
Okay. I don't have Faker.
I got Faker.
Ben will get him up. We know yours is trap.
This one's Faker. He's got a blue face. They just use the exact same models.
Yeah.
I
don't know why, but just having the same thing as a kid, but it being a different color, it fascinated me.
Yeah,
I was like, is this He-Man or is it Skeletor? What's going on?
There's something cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
something really cool about that. Which other one did you want to look at, Max?
See if Battle Armor Skeletor's on there.
Battle Armor.
Battle Armor.
I love the Battle Armor.
Yeah, they had
the only one I bought for my son that I felt was money well spent was Battle Cat.
Yeah, Battle Cat's quality. Although he was a bit stiff, he was just like that all the time.
Yeah. But it was the only one that was like, yeah, that's badass.
Yeah.
Battle Armor Skeletor.
Battle Armor. There he is. And if you punch him in the chest, his chest flips round and he gets more dented.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That little bat in the center is like a...
Yeah, so it like moves inside. So, you know when you can turn them and make them punch?
Yeah.
You make them punch each other. It looks like they're receiving... There it is. It looks like they're receiving damage in their chest.
So his chest... Yeah. So he gets damage based on that.
Yeah, it was proper cool, man.
All right. Cool, man. All right, so Aria, do you want to share your screen and show your figures that you...
Sharing my screen already, just bring it up to me. Yeah, cool. So you guys know Trapjaw's my favorite. He's got to be number one, hands down. In my opinion, the coolest figure ever. I think Trapjaw's wicked. I think the new version of Trapjaw is 100% better than the original, apart from the head. The head looks a little bit goofy on the new one, which they.
I feel like is that like a remodel of the original? Is it?
This is Origins, which is the current He-Man line, where they have full articulation. You bend the elbows, wrists, and all that.
Ah, wicked.
Right, like look at this. Like Trapjaw's arm was originally stiff, like that. You could only do that with it, but now obviously full articulation. Also, all the parts are interchangeable. You can take them all off. He's got all the like classic accessories and all that. The only thing is they were giving them new head sculpts, and they've sort of done a U-turn on that now because fans don't seem to like the new heads because they look a bit different to the originals.
It doesn't look like it's got quite as much detail as the originals. Like the head.
The head is a bit more cartoony, but other than that, it's like 99% the exact same thing as the original figure.
Have they lost the black elastic bands inside them?
Yeah. So it's all ball joints and modern articulation, which is really cool. The exact same size as well. So if you had like one new figure that you didn't have back in the day, you could put it in your collection, and it will look
wicked. Oh, so you can sit him on an old battle cat.
Yeah.
There you go, Pops. Stay on Aria forever.
What's that?
Ben, what?
Ben, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've been here the whole time.
Who dis?
I didn't get up for a second. So which other ones? Other ones? You talked about the Trapjaw.
Right, my top 5: Trapjaw, Mossman, Stratos, Mechaneck, Thunder Punch, He-Man.
All right. Let's look at them.
I've got them up ready. If you bring my screen back up, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Mossman. Green Beastman, but he was flopped and he smelled like moss. They added the scented plastic for him. I think that's such a cool idea. I've never seen a original Mossman in person. I've seen the classics figure, which is the big expensive ones, and I just love the gimmick. He's also he's my favorite good guy, So there's Mossman.
I never realised they did scented figures.
You didn't know that? They did.
No, mate.
They did Stinko, and Stinko.
Stinko smells like skunk. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. It's a true thing. All right, I'm going to be right back. I've got to let someone into my house. But carry on showing your toys, Aria.
So Mossman. Actually, Mossman and Stratos are joint my favorite Masters of the Universe. They or Heroic Warriors, rather. They're both wicked, in my opinion. Both got the Beastman body as well, so maybe it's just that I like.
Really?
Yeah. They same body. It's hard to tell Mossman because he's flopped. He's got that fur on him.
So, what's the best gimmick, Aria? Is it a figure with a hologram on, or a scented figure?
Oh, it's definitely the scented figure.
What?
Yeah. It's 100% the scent. It's not just the scent; it's the flocking as well. Like Panther was flocked. It's authentic. The figure feels a lot more real. And trust me, the scent is it's over. It's like. You're probably picturing like a scratch and sniff sticker. No,
I don't know. It's
you
just weird.
Get Mossman out, the whole room smells like Mossman. It's immersive.
Does the whole room smell of shit when you get Stinkor out?
Yeah. It made kids cry. It was famous for being overpowering.
That's amazing. How did I not know that?
Yeah. And then speaking of Stinkor, my number 4 is Mechaneck. So. Mechaneck was the first one to have this armor, and then Stinkor was like the villain that copied the body type. So Mechaneck is so goofy, but I freaking love him. He is so cool.
I like Mechaneck.
That is a cool gimmick. If not, the only downside to this figure is that in order for his neck to be up like that, he's got to be looking sideways. Because the gimmick is in the waist, so if you twist the body, then his neck goes up.
Yeah.
But other than that, he looks like something straight out of a Jack Kirby comic, and that's based on his old Jack Kirby art. He's probably the best design, but he's not my favorite character.
That's a really cool toy.
Is he holding a giant ice cream cone?
Yeah. We dug up my dad's original Mechaneck, and he is almost perfect, apart from the fact that the gimmick's really loose now. So if you twist him and let him go, he just slides back to normal.
Looks like he's wearing he's holding a giant fleshlight.
Oh yeah, for his giant.
What is that meant to be?
For his mecha dick.
It's a club.
A club.
His mecha dick. They don't advertise that on the packaging. You twist him the other way, he extends downwards.
It just flops out.
Yeah, Mecha Neck is one I didn't pay much attention to going through them all, but yeah, he is quite cool actually.
It's
Mecha
like
Neck.
totally cheesy gimmick, but I think it's so masters.
It's so masters.
And then Thunder Punch He-Man, who is the coolest of all the He-Man because he's red. That's the only reason.
Because he's red?
Yeah, he's got red armor. And his gimmick was so you pull him back like this and then let him go, and you put cat gun pellets in him, and when the spring pulls him back, it goes bang. So he's the coolest.
I see.
And he was a deluxe figure. See, he came on big card backed package there.
That's pretty cool. So Thunder Punch He-Man, Extendor. What was the
Extendor? Mecha Neck.
Extendor. We like that.
Extendor was a good one.
Raptor and Mossman, and obviously Trapjaw.
Trapjaw, the number one.
I talked about my favorites already. Max, which are your
Castle Grayskull, and that was also a good buy.
play set?
Yeah.
The kid loved it. He played with that thing, That's what I mean. There were certain things that he played with, so you knew they were good buys. And then there was other set that just sat on the side or stood in one place and never got touched. And you could tell which were good buys.
Your son really liked the Battle Cat, didn't he?
He liked Battle Cat. He liked he liked Skeletor. He liked Battle Cat, and he definitely loved that place. No doubt.
How old's your son now?
31.
31.
You guys see that? The Fright Zone? Did any of you guys have this? This is the coolest playset, in my opinion, with the sock puppet monster.
No.
It's a tree? I don't understand. Is it a dungeon?
This is like a Hordax base. And it's hard to do with the book is so big, right? Put the camera. So this here is like a rubbery puppet, right? And you put the puppet through the
I
cave,
vaguely remember this.
and then
What, dude?
Oh, they don't have a visual on this page, I don't think. But
it looks like there's a giant snake coming out of the hole.
Grab He-Man and you can put him in the dungeon. There it is. See, can you see him?
Yeah, the snake's like a puppet and it goes through the hole.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's hard to show you. Yeah. I think that's...
No, I get it, Aria. I got it. That's really awesome. I gotta get me one of them. That sounds like a really cool play set. Max, were there any other action figures that we haven't covered?
Scareglow. He weirdly enough features in the new series. He's quite good in the new series, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah, he's not bad. He just he feeds on your fear. But I mean, he's got absolutely nothing to do with the main plot at all. He just pops in and pops out. There he is.
Scareglow. It's kind of pretty similar design to Skeletor, actually.
Yeah, man. Most of my favourites are other versions of originals that are slightly different, and I don't know why. Just as a kid, I always used to get fascinated by just slightly alternate versions.
Right. So
the main version.
So
like he glows in the dark, man, and he's fucking cool.
So like the normie kid has He-Man and Skeletor, and Max is like, fuck that shit. I've got Faker and Scareglow.
Yeah.
And they're so much cooler. And then Max's neighbor with his He-Man and his Skeletor feels like shit, starts crying.
Yeah. I pretty much based my entire life on that.
Exactly.
Max is the cool kid.
That's really cool. Scareglow would make a really awesome Halloween costume.
Yeah. Just paint yourself in neon paint. And
it wouldn't be that hard to do, actually.
Yeah.
You got green and black body paint, a pair of denim extremely short shorts, and a purple cloak.
You'd have to be shredded though to pull this one off because he's a
Max.
skeleton, right?
So Max, I'm expecting you to dress as
fucking Scareglow.
As Scareglow for Halloween. Right. We should all be Masters of the Universe characters for Halloween.
We'll have to do another episode, like Halloween special, and we'll dress as Masters characters.
Fucking hell.
Well, I think we should all dress as something for Halloween. And
you're gonna have to make a massive red jaw, Aria.
Oh god.
And talk through it.
Would you dress as Trapjaw for Halloween? That would be harder one to pull off. Yeah!
Strap a boxing glove to your chin.
I shouldn't have put that on my mouth.
Your
I'd
face green.
been in the gym. It's disgusting.
I'll dress as Stinkor and I'll get the scent right.
Shit yourself before we start the cast.
Exactly. All right, so I think we talked about everything. I think we talked about the old cartoon shows. We got into the Kevin Smith controversy, and we talked about toys. Chris is back.
Yo.
Hey, Chris. Chris isn't back. Chris is back. Chris isn't back.
He's having trouble with his setup, I think.
All right. Whatever. That we're ending the show, Chris. Sorry about that. All right, that's it. That's all we had to say. What are we doing next week? Power Rangers.
I liked Max's Dragon Ball Z idea.
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, we'll talk about Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, you need to give me pointers of where I should start because I've never watched one.
They're gonna keep doing it to you, Max. They're gonna keep talking about
there's a lot of Dragon Balls. Man, there's
it's
a lot of
being in the nerd sphere. Everyone seems to know about it. It's just one that just totally passed me by, you know.
Yeah.
I could watch him. It just
You've got to go way back to the original Shonen Jump manga. Start
but when he's like a little kid.
Yeah, through every single show, we expect nothing but the most in-depth research from you, Max.
You don't have to do that. It's a very slow-paced show. It takes a long time to get anywhere.
I've heard a lot of the episodes are
really, yeah, it's really slow-paced.
I just gotta say, I watched my son watched like every episode of Naruto.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what I got out of this from walking through the room every now and then. This wasn't even that long ago. All I got was pork ramen extra meat.
Right.
Yeah,
every time dude was eating, that's what he wanted: pork ramen with extra meat.
There's something about
like every time I walked through the room, that's what they were talking.
They're always doing that. There's something about food fetishes in anime that some really interesting.
Do you wanna give me like 10 episodes that I could watch them?
Should we specifically do Dragon Ball Z because that's the big.
Okay.
It is. That's the only one that's worth bothering.
Okay.
Here's what we can do. Just like if I were you, Max, I would really just go to Wikipedia and just look at the synopsis of the episodes and just scan them and try to find one that looks interesting.
Sure.
There's big fights like the clone fight and the Frieza fight, but they take like 10 episodes to get through. So here's what I would do for the Dragon Ball show. I would do a list of top 5 best characters, and then I would do my favorite episode from Dragon Ball Z, or my favorite episode or fight.
Yeah.
So favorite characters, favorite episode or fight. That's it.
Awesome. Good plan, guys.
Cool,
I
man.
won't be able to add anything to next week, guys.
That's all right, Pops.
That's okay, man. Thanks for coming on, Pops.
Okay. Thanks a lot for coming on.
It's always nice to see your moustached little face.
You know, I gotta get out here. Gotta keep being seen if I'm gonna. Oh yeah, Madness Art Auction on Friday. If any of you guys want to drop anything in the auction, sell something, you're more than welcome.
I know an artist.
I might just do it.
CromCon Europe. Not sure if it's going to be the 28th or the 29th yet. Got a poll up in the Madness, and it's on my Twitter profile. There's a poll there. Click on it. Let me know, you English people, you Italian people, all you people over there, let me know which day works for you so I can figure out which day I'm going to do this and get sign up, you know, get it going, get it rolling.
Dragon
The
Ball Z.
15th, I plan on being at Grand Rapids Comic Con live, walking the floor, getting to meet some of the people I've been talking to for the last 18 months. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. Definitely let us know about that. I know some Europeans and I know some artists. Some of them are on the stream right now.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming on, Pops. You're welcome anytime, and you're one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Take it easy, Pops.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll talk about Dragon Ball Z, the three of us. Chris, you can call next week. Pops, you can call next week. Anybody, you can call next week. And let's end with the show the intro one more time because it's really cool.
Dubs.
As we've just seen, drugs make your problems go away. So make it the best day possible. Remember, it's drugs that counts. Take one and take a chance.
Saturday morning cartoons.